What if I told you there are 5 fermented foods so powerful for muscle metabolism after 75 that some researchers say they can make the protein you eat work 1,000,000x more effectively than eggs alone? Yet almost nobody talks about them. Think about this for a second. The global protein supplement market is worth over $25 billion. Egg consumption worldwide reaches more than 1.3 trillion eggs every year. Seniors everywhere are told the same message: eat more protein to stay strong. Yet despite all that protein, more than 12 million adults over 65 in the United States are losing muscle mass every year. Legs weaken, balance declines, standing from a chair becomes harder. Something clearly is not working. So the question is simple: if everyone is eating protein, why are muscles still disappearing after 75? After 45 years working in emergency medicine, and now being a senior myself, I started noticing the same story again and again. People told me proudly, "Doctor, I eat eggs every morning," but their arms were thinner, their legs weaker, their strength fading anyway. That is when I discovered something almost nobody explains clearly. After 75, the real problem is often not how much protein you eat. It is whether your body can actually absorb and use it. These foods contain powerful beneficial bacteria and natural compounds that help your gut break down nutrients and deliver amino acids to muscle tissue far more efficiently. In simple terms, they unlock the protein you already eat. In this video, we will reveal 5 fermented foods that can dramatically support muscle strength after 75, ranked from least powerful to most powerful. And number 3 shocked me the most because it is simple, inexpensive, and yet its effect on protein absorption is something many seniors completely overlook. You can also find the background sources and notes in the description if you want to look deeper. But before we dive in, here is a quick question from where you are watching us. Tell me in the comments because I read them personally and respond whenever I can. Now, let us begin with number 5, the first fermented food that starts helping your body unlock more strength from the protein you eat after 75. Number 5. Fermented sauerkraut. Most people walk right past the sauerkraut jar at the grocery store without giving it a second thought, and that is a massive mistake, especially if you are over 75 and trying to hold on to your muscle mass. Raw fermented sauerkraut is not just shredded cabbage with a tangy taste sitting in a jar. It is a living food absolutely loaded with Lactobacillus plantarum, one of the most well-studied probiotic strains on the entire planet when it comes to muscle health and nutrient absorption in older adults. A 2022 study from the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that this specific bacterial strain significantly improves the gut's ability to absorb leucine, which is the single most important amino acid for triggering muscle protein synthesis in the human body. Think of leucine as the ignition key that starts your muscle-building engine, and without proper absorption of this critical amino acid, that key just sits there doing absolutely nothing no matter how much protein you eat at every meal. What makes sauerkraut even more remarkable for people over 75 is its incredibly high vitamin C content, which most people do not realize survives and actually increases during the fermentation process, thanks to the metabolic activity of the beneficial bacteria. Vitamin C plays a direct and essential role in collagen synthesis, and collagen is the connective tissue that holds your muscles firmly to your bones and keeps your joints functioning properly so you can move without pain. Without strong, healthy collagen, your muscles have nothing stable to pull against, and that is exactly when falls and devastating injuries start happening with increasing frequency. Sauerkraut also provides a significant amount of vitamin K2 produced by the bacteria during fermentation, and K2 works hand in hand with calcium to maintain the bone density that serves as the structural foundation your entire muscular system depends upon for strength and stability. A fascinating 2021 German study found that older adults who consumed fermented cabbage products regularly had measurably better gut barrier integrity, meaning fewer inflammatory toxins were leaking from their intestines into their bloodstream, where they could trigger the chronic low-grade inflammation that accelerates muscle breakdown. Now, the best way to get the absolute maximum benefit from sauerkraut is to never buy the pasteurized kind sitting on the regular room temperature shelf, because pasteurization uses heat that kills every single one of the beneficial bacteria that make this food so valuable. You want the raw unpasteurized version found only in the refrigerated section of your grocery store, and you want to eat about 2 to 3 generous tablespoons daily alongside a meal that already contains a good source of protein. When you pair sauerkraut with any protein source like fish or chicken or even beans, the probiotics immediately go to work inside your digestive tract, helping your gut break down and absorb significantly more of that protein than your aging body could ever handle on its own without microbial assistance. You can add it as a side to your lunch plate. Mix it generously into a fresh salad for extra crunch and tanginess. Stir it into warm soup just before eating so the bacteria stay alive, or simply eat it straight from the jar with a fork if you genuinely enjoy that bright tangy flavor on its own. The absolute key with sauerkraut is daily consistency because the probiotic benefits are cumulative and they build powerfully over time as the healthy bacteria colonize your gut lining and create a progressively more efficient protein-absorbing environment with each passing week of regular consumption. Most people give up too soon before the gut microbiome has had a chance to fully shift, so commit to at least 4 weeks of daily sauerkraut before judging the results. But sauerkraut is honestly only the beginning of what fermented foods can do for your aging muscles, because the next food on this list takes protein absorption to an entirely different level that will genuinely surprise you. Before we roll on, hit like and make sure you're subscribed. The next part might surprise you. Number 4. Traditional kefir. If sauerkraut is the entry point into the world of fermented muscle-building foods, then traditional kefir is where things start getting seriously powerful and scientifically impressive for anyone over 75 who absolutely refuses to let age steal their hard-earned strength. Kefir is a fermented milk drink that originated centuries ago in the Caucasus Mountains, a remote region between Europe and Asia that is internationally famous for producing some of the longest-living and most physically active elderly people ever documented in scientific literature and population studies. What separates kefir dramatically from regular yogurt or plain milk is the sheer diversity of its microbial content, as a single cup of authentic traditionally fermented kefir contains up to 61 different strains of beneficial bacteria and yeasts all working together in a complex symbiotic colony that scientists call kefir grains. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Dairy Science found that the bioactive peptides produced specifically during kefir fermentation directly stimulate mTOR, which stands for mechanistic target of rapamycin, and this is essentially the master regulator inside every one of your cells that controls whether your body builds new muscle tissue or breaks existing muscle down for energy. After the age of 75, mTOR signaling naturally declines significantly, which is one of the primary biological reasons why muscle loss accelerates so dramatically and frustratingly in later decades of life, even when people try to eat well and stay active. But the unique peptides found exclusively in kefir were shown in controlled studies to reactivate this crucial pathway in a way that whole eggs simply cannot accomplish because eggs completely lack the probiotic component that makes the protein and nutrients in kefir so readily available and usable by aging digestive systems. Kefir also provides a highly bioavailable form of calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and vitamin K2, all of which are absolutely critical for maintaining the bone mineral density that supports your muscles and prevents the catastrophic fractures that can be life-altering and even life-threatening after 75. A 2023 meta-analysis reviewing data from over 4,000 older adults found that regular consumption of fermented dairy products like kefir was associated with a 22% lower risk of sarcopenia, which is the clinical term for the progressive loss of muscle mass and function that affects millions of older adults worldwide. The researchers specifically noted that the probiotic diversity in kefir appeared to reduce intestinal permeability, commonly known as leaky gut, which is a condition that becomes increasingly prevalent after 70 and causes systemic inflammation that directly interferes with muscle protein synthesis throughout the entire body. The best way to consume kefir for maximum muscle-building benefit is to drink 1 full cup approximately 30 minutes after any form of physical activity, even if that activity is just a gentle 15-minute walk around the neighborhood or some light resistance band exercises done while sitting in a chair. The post-exercise window is precisely when your muscles are most receptive to incoming nutrients, and kefir's pre-digested proteins and amino acids flood into your hungry muscle cells with remarkable efficiency during this critical recovery period. You can drink it plain, which many people enjoy, Blend it into a creamy smoothie with a ripe banana for extra potassium and natural sweetness, or pour it generously over a small bowl of warm oats for a muscle-building breakfast that works far harder inside your body than any scrambled egg plate ever could, no matter how many eggs you pile on. Always make sure you choose plain unsweetened kefir, because the flavored commercial versions are absolutely loaded with added sugars that promote systemic inflammation and work directly against your muscle-building goals by spiking insulin in unhealthy ways. Now, if kefir genuinely impressed you with its science, just wait until you hear what the next food on this list does to your body's entire muscle recovery and anti-inflammation system. Number 3. Korean kimchi. Korean kimchi has been a fundamental dietary staple in one of the healthiest and longest living populations on the entire earth for well over 2,000 documented years, and modern Western science is finally catching up to what Korean elders and traditional healers have known instinctively for countless generations about maintaining remarkable physical strength and independence well into very old age. Kimchi is a spicy, deeply flavorful fermented vegetable dish traditionally made with crisp Napa cabbage, crunchy radish, pungent garlic, fresh ginger, and vibrant Korean chili pepper flakes called gochugaru. And every single one of those powerful ingredients brings something uniquely valuable to the muscle-building equation for people over 75. A landmark 2023 study conducted at Seoul National University found that older adults who consumed kimchi daily for just 12 consecutive weeks showed significantly lower blood levels of inflammatory markers, including C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, compared to the carefully matched control group eating a standard diet without fermented vegetables. This matters enormously for muscle building after 75 because chronic low-grade inflammation, which scientists and gerontologists now call inflammaging, is widely recognized as one of the primary biological drivers of sarcopenia, the devastating age-related muscle wasting condition that affects nearly half of all adults living past the age of 80 according to recent epidemiological data. Kimchi attacks this inflammation problem from multiple angles simultaneously because its abundant Lactobacillus kimchi bacteria powerfully reduce gut-originating inflammation, while the capsaicin from its chili peppers measurably increases blood flow to peripheral muscle tissue, and its raw garlic provides generous amounts of allicin, a sulfur compound that has been shown in laboratory studies to significantly reduce muscle protein breakdown during periods of physical inactivity or bed rest. That remarkable multi-pathway combination is something you will absolutely never find in a carton of eggs, no matter how many you consume daily, because eggs contain 0 probiotics and 0 capsaicin, and their anti-inflammatory properties are minimal at best when compared to what kimchi delivers in every single serving. A 2022 study in the Journal of Medicinal Food went even further and found that the specific fermentation byproducts in aged kimchi include significant quantities of gamma-aminobutyric acid, commonly known as GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that improves sleep quality and reduces the stress hormone cortisol. This connection matters profoundly for muscle building because the vast majority of your muscle repair and growth hormone release happens during deep sleep, and elevated cortisol is one of the most destructive forces working against muscle preservation in older adults who are already fighting an uphill biological battle. The ideal way to prepare kimchi for maximum muscle-building benefit is to make it at home using a simple traditional recipe where you generously salt the Napa cabbage leaves. Let them wilt naturally for about 2 hours until they become pliable. Then mix them thoroughly with a vibrant paste made from Korean chili flakes, good quality fish sauce, plenty of fresh minced garlic, finely grated ginger, and a small amount of sweet rice flour paste that gives the beneficial bacteria a food source to consume during the fermentation process. Let the packed jars sit at room temperature for 2 to 3 days until the mixture becomes pleasantly tangy and actively bubbly with visible fermentation activity. Then transfer everything to the refrigerator where it will continue developing even more diverse and beneficial bacterial strains over the following weeks and months. Eat roughly a quarter cup alongside your main protein-containing meal each day, ideally letting the kimchi sit at room temperature for about 10 minutes before eating so the bacteria become maximally active and ready to assist with amino acid absorption and efficient delivery to your hungry muscle cells throughout the body. The beauty of kimchi is that it genuinely tastes incredible and transforms every single meal into something more exciting and deeply satisfying. But the next food on this list contains something so scientifically unique that researchers almost could not believe what they were seeing under the microscope when they analyzed its effects. Number 2. Japanese miso. Japanese miso is arguably one of the most profoundly underestimated muscle-building foods anywhere on the planet, and the science behind why it works so exceptionally well for people over 75 is genuinely fascinating and eye-opening when you truly understand the complex biochemistry of what happens during its remarkably unique and ancient fermentation process. Miso is traditionally made by carefully fermenting cooked soybeans with a specific beneficial mold called Aspergillus oryzae, along with sea salt and sometimes rice or barley as additional substrates, and this elaborate fermentation process can last anywhere from a few months for lighter white miso varieties to several years for the deeply complex dark red and brown varieties that are most beneficial for muscle health. What makes miso truly extraordinary for aging muscles is that the Aspergillus oryzae mold produces incredibly powerful proteolytic enzymes during the long fermentation period that essentially pre-digest the soy proteins into highly absorbable small peptide fragments and individual free amino acids, meaning your 75-year-old digestive system barely has to do any work whatsoever to extract and utilize the concentrated muscle-building nutrients that miso delivers. A 2022 study published in the prestigious journal Food Chemistry found that properly aged miso contains concentrations of branched-chain amino acids, particularly the critical trio of leucine, isoleucine, and valine, that are dramatically higher in actual bioavailability when compared to those exact same amino acids found in unfermented protein sources, like whole eggs or plain-cooked soybeans. Researchers at Tohoku University in northern Japan went even further with their investigations and discovered that a specific compound produced exclusively during the long miso fermentation process called melanoidin acts as a remarkably potent antioxidant that specifically protects muscle satellite cells from the oxidative damage that accumulates relentlessly with advancing age. Satellite cells are essentially the stem cells of your muscular system, the specialized repair crew that activates and mobilizes whenever muscle fibers sustain damage during exercise or daily physical activity, and after the age of 75 these precious cells become increasingly vulnerable to free radical damage that prevents them from proliferating and doing their critical repair and regeneration job properly. By actively shielding satellite cells from oxidative destruction, miso essentially keeps your entire muscle repair and regeneration system functioning with an efficiency that resembles how it operated decades earlier, which is a therapeutic effect that no amount of eggs could ever accomplish on their own regardless of how you prepare or consume them. A large-scale Japanese population study published in 2023 tracked over 15,000 adults for more than a decade and found that those who consumed miso soup daily had significantly better grip strength measurements and lower rates of functional disability in their later years compared to infrequent miso consumers, even after controlling for overall diet quality and exercise habits. The best way to consume miso for serious muscle-building purposes is to dissolve 1 generous tablespoon of unpasteurized dark red or brown miso paste into warm water that is absolutely not boiling because excessive heat above 115 degrees Fahrenheit destroys the living enzymes and beneficial bacteria and heat-sensitive vitamins that make miso so uniquely valuable as a fermented food for aging bodies. Drink this beautifully simple miso broth once or twice daily, ideally alongside your first and last meals of the day, and you can easily enhance its nutritional impact by adding some thinly sliced green onions for additional antioxidants and small cubes of soft silken tofu for complementary plant-based protein that the miso's own probiotics will help you absorb with dramatically improved efficiency. You can also use miso paste as a glaze spread onto baked salmon or cod before cooking. Stir it into homemade salad dressings for a rich umami depth of flavor, or whisk it into warm grain bowls that combine multiple protein sources for a truly comprehensive muscle-supporting meal that requires absolutely no complicated cooking skills or expensive ingredients. Everything we have covered on this entire list so far has been carefully building to this final moment because the number one food is the one that left experienced scientists and longevity researchers around the world absolutely stunned by its results. Number 1. Natto from fermented soybeans. This is the one that changed everything researchers thought they understood about muscle building in older adults. And if you only add one single fermented food to your daily routine after watching this entire video today, this is the one that absolutely needs to be it without any question or hesitation whatsoever. Natto is a traditional Japanese food made by fermenting whole-cooked soybeans with a remarkably powerful bacterium called Bacillus subtilis, and it has a distinctively sticky, stringy texture and a strong, pungent smell that admittedly takes some getting used to for people who did not grow up eating it. But what this humble food does inside your body at the cellular and molecular level is nothing short of extraordinary for anyone over 75 who wants to maintain or rebuild meaningful muscle mass. A groundbreaking 2023 study published in the Journal of Physiological Anthropology found that elderly Japanese adults who consumed natto at least 4 times per week had significantly greater measured muscle mass, superior grip strength scores, and faster walking speeds compared to demographically matched adults who did not eat natto regularly. Even after the researchers carefully adjusted for total daily protein intake and weekly physical activity levels, the primary secret weapon hiding inside every serving of natto is a fibrinolytic enzyme called nattokinase, which dramatically improves blood circulation throughout your entire body by actively breaking down fibrin, a sticky protein substance that causes blood to become progressively thicker and more sluggish as you age past 70. Substantially better blood flow means significantly more oxygen and more amino acids and more glucose reaching your muscle tissue when it needs fuel, and it simultaneously means faster and more efficient removal of metabolic waste products like lactic acid and ammonia that cause lingering soreness and painfully slow down recovery between bouts of physical activity. A 2022 randomized controlled trial found that nattokinase supplementation improved peripheral blood flow in older adults by an average of 11% within just 8 weeks, and researchers noted that this circulatory improvement had cascading positive effects on tissue oxygenation, nutrient delivery efficiency, and overall exercise tolerance in the elderly participants. But nattokinase is genuinely only part of the remarkable story because natto also contains the single highest natural concentration of vitamin K2 in the form of menaquinone 7 ever measured in any food tested by nutritional scientists anywhere in the world. Vitamin K2 performs the absolutely critical job of directing calcium into your bones, where it strengthens the skeletal framework, and simultaneously pulling calcium out of your soft tissues and arteries where it causes dangerous calcification, thereby protecting your cardiovascular system while building the very bone architecture that your muscles depend upon for leverage and force production. Furthermore, and perhaps most impressively of all, natto contains extraordinarily high levels of polyamines, which are fascinating organic compounds that a landmark 2021 study published in Nature Cell Biology linked directly to the activation of cellular autophagy, the essential housekeeping process by which your cells systematically identify, dismantle, and recycle their own damaged internal components into fresh functional building materials. After 75, autophagy slows down dramatically across virtually all tissue types in your body, and this progressive slowdown is now considered by leading gerontologists to be one of the most fundamental and consequential biological mechanisms of aging and muscle deterioration across every human population that has been scientifically studied worldwide. By powerfully reactivating autophagy pathways, natto essentially sends a clear biological signal telling your muscle cells to restart their internal self-renewal program, methodically clearing out the accumulated damaged proteins and dysfunctional mitochondria that build up with decades of living and replacing them with fresh, fully functional components that generate substantially more cellular energy and allow muscle fibers to contract more forcefully and recover more quickly. The absolute best and most effective way to eat natto for maximum muscle building benefit is to consume it straight from its traditional small styrofoam container after stirring it vigorously approximately 50 times with chopsticks or a fork to fully activate the nattokinase enzyme and develop those characteristic long sticky strings that visually signal the food is alive and teeming with billions of beneficial bacteria ready to go to work inside your body. Eat one standard package of roughly 50 grams every single morning with your breakfast, ideally served over a small warm bowl of steamed rice with a light drizzle of soy sauce and a small dab of spicy Japanese mustard, which is the beloved traditional preparation that billions of servings have been enjoying across Japan over many centuries of continuous culinary tradition. You can also mix natto into warm grain bowls topped with vegetables, stir it gently into miso soup just before serving for a double fermented powerhouse combination, or spread it on whole grain toast with ripe avocado slices for a modern fusion-style breakfast that delivers more concentrated muscle-building power in a single meal than any egg-based dish could ever hope to match. If you found this information valuable and you want to keep building real strength and living independently and vigorously well beyond 75, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications so you never miss another video that could genuinely change your health for the better. Thank you so much for watching.